Having been an actor myself, I knew the kind of director that got the most out of me. It was the kind that had their vision, but also could listen.
You don't want me to treat you like you locked up no more.
Directors can talk all kinds of crap that they want to talk, but the baseline is casting is 100% of the job. You don't get that right, it don't matter how brilliant you are. Penumbra taught me how to do a lot of things. I really felt that I was an actor when I was working at Penumbra, because it was show after show after show, and you'd have all different kinds of parts in them. And I think I directed 2 plays a year at least, direct 2, act in 2.
We all sort of grew up together, making the same kind of mistakes, doing almost everything too much. We were put together largely because we were unhappy with depictions of African Americans in the newspaper, on stage, and movies, and so forth. And we knew, by virtue of being African American, that there was more to the story than was being told.
It was probably the most exciting time I've had in the theater. I didn't know it then, but when I look back on it, there was no time where I was as creative, working with people as creative, who were as hungry and driven as we were. And we could do anything. We could go from Sam Shepard to Ed Bullins to, new plays coming up, and August Wilson, who I consider the finest playwright America has produced.
One of our most famous company members is August Wilson. We sort of refined the aesthetic that we do at Penumbra using his plays to do it. That provided the content for us to define who we were as actors, directors, and so forth. We did a production of Fences that was absolutely stellar. Marion played Gabe. I am shaped by that performance. I can never think of Gabe, nor could August, frankly, think of Gabe in any other way than with Marion doing it. He had something that was so real, so honest. I mean, I get chills just thinking about it. It was phenomenal.
I loved acting. I loved it. There was nothing better for me than when the lights went down opening night and came back up. I wanted to be on stage for that. The piano lesson. It was the first time I directed one of August's plays. And talk about being afraid. You're doing it wrong, he gonna tell you about it. And I was in New York, actually, the night he saw it. And I called back home and talked to Terry Bellamy and said, well, T-Man, what'd August say? And he went, man, August flipped out. And I think flipped out means he hated it. I said, oh man, he ain't gonna never let me get near his work again. And Terry went, no, I don't think that's the case, brother. He loved it. August talked to me a month later. He told me that it was the best production of anything he had ever seen. And asked me where I got the ideas for some of the stuff from. I said, well, my father always used to go to answer a door with a pistol if it was past midnight, because he didn't know who was at his door and why they were at his door and what they were bringing to his door. So I had, at the beginning of the show, when Boy Willie's knocking on the door calling for Doker, I had Doker check his pistol, put it back in his robe, and go up and said, okay, who is it? Little things like that, touches that I pulled from my father. So he had me direct a play of his Jitney. And so our relationship started, writer to director, there. August wrote about being an African American in this country with as much heart, emotion, compassion, empathy, and criticism. than I had ever read before. You know, it was like, well, this guy talks like my father. And I'd never seen this guy in a play before. His breakthrough play, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, broke through not just for him, but he broke through for just about everybody black in the American theater. All of a sudden now there was work. There was work at theaters that could pay. There was work at all the big theaters that didn't do black work. I look at that time from 94 all the way to 2005, when I was working with August, being his Broadway director and dealing with all of what Broadway is. I mean, there's nothing like being involved with a Broadway show in the spring in New York. New York is all about theater in the spring. You got the Tonys, you got the Obies, you got the Drama Desk, and being a part of all of that, you felt like you were on cloud nine. And I was. I was one of the highest paid directors on Broadway at the time. And got failed by my kidneys. I have a kidney disease called polycystic kidney disease. And when it hit, I was doing Gem of the Ocean in Boston. Went to the hospital the beginning of the fourth week of rehearsal. And August had to go to somebody else. You know, he came and told me himself, which is what August would do. You know, and broke down and cried. And I said, nah, man, you got to go on. You know, the play's going to Broadway in December, and I can't tell you where I'm going to be in December. So I came home. And in coming home, friends had theaters now, and I started working again, and I think I'm doing the best work I've ever done.
Oh, Juicy! What? Get up. Don't you get tired of going?
I think I'm a lot less insecure, to where I can listen to actors more, to where I'm not feeling the pressure of being a Broadway director, feeling the pressure of satisfying an audience. And that's a much better pressure to have, because it affects your work in a positive way.
What's wrong with you? You ain't know this quiet. I'm sorry.
So I always have in my head two things: what my mother would say about the play I'm directing, and what August would say.
I know you up to something. Tell me what it is, old Juicy.
The relationship with August is probably the most important relationship I'll ever have in the American theater. It made me want to do the kind of work August did. It made me want to do plays that reflected the beauty of my mother and my aunts, who basically raised me. We believed that their life was worthy of art. We wanted to show the world what we knew about our people and about the greatness and our ability to survive. And so I try to keep that in mind as I'm directing.
Ogunsai sees it, how could he not? And is left alone. The early foreday with the morning mist.
Just like that, Marion?
Yeah,
All right.
just like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take 10.